Oui, la, di miss mystery. It's story time with Lady, moving kinda shady. Whatever happened, you might as well confess. There's nothing you can hide from the showgirl seamstress, concierge with the potion for truth. Follow the clues in Lady's room. La vie is mystery. La di miss mystery.
Welcome to Ladies' Room. I'm Lady with a new story for you. Players and Pearls at Club Surrender, a Coffee Books publication, a Holter Intellectual Property Curriculum. Script and songbook by Jessica Holter. Chapter 1, Lady on Location.
Invited to the party on short notice. To get my hustle on in a house built on a foundation of pain. It was raining on a hot day. In Atlanta, where the sun is God, we don't stay wet for long. I turn off the expressway, take a left turn downhill, drive by hustlers and hitters, past lurkers and loafers, penny players and dimes who have stood in my line before. Pulling up to where there should have been a curb, but there was none in this danger zone. No stopping and no parking, all the guests ignored it as they gathered waiting for the door to open. I roll my bag of products across weeds and wild grass, up the rickety old steps, hot rain steaming away in the Georgia heat. I step inside the trap house a poet had converted to host her open truth night. She had assembled assorted characters for an evening of interactive artistry. And though they cleaned up well, I can still smell crack in the walls, freshly papered with faces of the great ones. Sanchez, Brooks, Angelou, Lord, Giovanni, Hughes, their legacy suspended in orbit. There are no pipes or needles in this house of illness anymore. But the scent of misery and fear is still stuck like gum on the carpet. The players are costumed, pensive and attentive, as they take instructions and assume positions at appointed stations in the room. Athletes in ballet shoes stretch and contort for their opening dance to Ento, Zaki, Sean Gay's choreo poem. I would be playing myself, Lady, bathroom attendant extraordinaire, goddess, healer, truth sayer. For most of the guests, I would not need an introduction. I work in clubs all over town, wherever good music, hot women, and strong drinks can be found. The ladies' room concierge service is just a bathroom visit away. Now that I have my own product line, Ladies' Presence reminds them where to find quintessential butters, silky skin milk, and the most potent THC-infused massage oil, so relaxing, you'll wish you could smoke it. The bathroom is adjacent to the kitchen. I post my sign on the door, Ladies' Room, towels for tips. There is only one toilet, but as promised, it is clean and new, made of black porcelain matching a freestanding sink. Above it is the original mirror, recently hand-painted with healing symbols and a single sentence written in cursive. You have been here before. God bless her heart, I say to myself. The creative redhead poet tried. There was no telling the things that mirror had seen the night old Scatter died. While I am not easily frightened, finding comfort and wisdom in conversations with spirits, I sprinkle black salt on the edges of the mirror and the remainder of my satchel in the doorway to deflect mischievousness and stay focused on my business. The bathroom is roomy enough to set up where a wall had been removed, leaving a large door frame draped with a shimmery beaded curtain. Behind it was a green room where actors had hung purses and jackets on a black coat rack perched between two matty gold dressing tables made of wood and glass. Lights glimmering around the mirrors, matching brass and red velvet stools give the room a touch of class. Voices in the kitchen tell me to prepare, but I'm not yet, when an old lover I've been trying to forget knocks on the door. I open, hesitantly welcome him, but he cannot come in, just hovers there, saying he is still in love with me. All love ain't good love, I remind him and myself, waiting for him to walk away. He explains that he is part of the show and has prepared his love confession for the microphone, wishing only that I hear what he has to say, to which I respond, as the house begins to bustle and people form a line behind him, that I will not be able to hear his sonnet because I will be working, leading us quite naturally into an old familiar argument that stood in opposition to my hustle when we were together. I accounted for the time lost acquiescing to his emotional needs by creating ladies' presence to represent me during my absence from the scene. Stomping away like a toddler, he disappears through the door into the living room where colored girls begin to dance for a satisfying rainbow. My smiling invitation to ladies' room guests is enough to straighten me out of his haunting negativity for hours until a fight breaks out over my last jar of sage butter, my most popular product effectively sold by the promising claim 8 ounces of healing power for quarreling lovers. Sold out. I take the opportunity to catch what may be left of the performance, stepping into the creative spectacle, where actors are still in character, engaging guests with a limited menu of water, cranberry and grape juice, inviting them to choose organic fruits from bowing heads of servants draped in white linen, communicating only in rhyme and song. The room hums with an expectant calm. The redhead hostess steps onto the carpet that no longer emits the sense of pain and fear. Drowned out by sage and fragrant essential oils I sold, the walls are warm, healing arms wrapped around a community of pimps, hookers, and drug dealers put out of their enterprises when the late homeowners scatter shut them out. He donated the house to the nonprofit organization that funded the poet who invites my ex to the mic. He smiles in my direction, nods proudly, and rises. The chatter subsides when he begins, an ode to love he dedicates to Scatter. A man, he says, who made the ultimate sacrifice, surrendering his life in dedication to something he believed was right, to the love of my life. He begins his confession to me. He apologizes publicly for his selfishness for stealing me away from a community that needed me, from work I loved and those I had healed with countless hours of ladies' room therapy. He has seen the error of his ways and would proudly marry me while standing by my side, but he knows it could never be. It is open truth night. He has been waiting for this night to come clean. My old lover, an amateur poet, a recovering addict, a man I thought I had healed over a teary summer of potions and panic, has shown up here to confess that it was he who deleted Scatter. He had been hired by the man in red, now standing behind and looking me squarely in the eyes as he brandishes a weapon in shock, splattered in what seemed to be the victim's crimson essence. I watch as the room springs into action, the host and poet and her pretenders. Every soul in the trap house from every tiny stage of the room pounce. Beneath the watchful eyes of the great laureates, they scribe the darkest ending, stomping holes of righteous indignation into the limbs of their collective enemy, the man who dared destroy what they were building. They roll the body up in the old carpet and make me vow to never speak a word of it. The redhead hostess takes the mic, her hands still red with foul play, standing in the open space where hardwood floor reveals itself. She looks at me with a sinister grin, asking if I am okay. Finally, she says, "We got rid of that old thing. Now we can build our stage here." I think to leave, but I am startled suddenly back into my seat by a thunderous roar of applause and victorious laughter filling the trap house as the actors smile and bow. The truth takes a moment to set in as I watch in shock and awe as the players unroll the carpet and free their fellow thespian. The grand reveal of the brain game came as such a relief to me as I finally set my clenched jaws free and tasted the condensed beet juice on my lips, now fully aware that I had been the unwitting victim of a cunning theater plot. The legend of the trap house would echo through the block and flow out to distant counties, to theater lovers who long for culture, shock, and awe. As for me, well, it was time to get back on the road. After that night, I was homebound to Coffy Town.
Chapter 2, The Sister Circle. I guess this story began in Atlanta. My mind was still replaying that crazy theater game when I got back home to Coffy Town, into an empty, sad, cold club surrender. No sign of Lucy anywhere. The last time I saw her, she was shutting the club down and leaving all of us to fend for ourselves. I spent the summer in Hotlanta. For a moment, I thought I was in love. Then I realized I couldn't keep up. Another story for another time. This one is about the perfect date night. And maybe it was because I still had that theater game in my head, all that mystery, all that make-believe turning real, that when Funky John came to me with his crazy idea, I didn't shut him down right away. I should have, but I didn't. Because Atlanta had me thinking anything was possible. Back then, everybody had a man. Some of them had other people's men plus their own. It got messy before it got ugly. There's always a warning when the devil is coming. The first things you need to know about Lucy are simple. She doesn't like to give up. She doesn't like to lose. And she does not like to be embarrassed. Her man told her if she didn't like taking chances, she was in the wrong business. That's what did it. Lucy's eyes turned another shade of brown. Put simply, Funky John was stealing from the till, claiming he was investing in the club's future. He wanted to start a record label and sign the performers to contracts. It was Greek to Lucy. And when she put him out, everything got worse. See, Funky John was the producer, the fierce director of the show here at Club Surrender. We had a nice stable of VIP guests who kept the lights on and dropped 20s in my tip jar, but they demanded excellence. And once Funky John was gone, discipline slipped. The performers got sloppy. The shows got weak.
And I'll be honest, I was sad to see the breakup. Not just because they work well together, but because I knew where Funky John landed after Lucy put him out. He pitched himself a makeshift home in the alley behind the club, plastics, boxes, and a lucid dream holding his plan together. He took to entertaining passers-by on a cardboard stage, trying not to measure his worth in crumpled dollars and chump change. It wasn't right. More than that, it was unseemly and so beneath him. And it sure wasn't the future he kept promising Lucy. The plan was simple, or at least as simple as the parts they let me in on. Ruby would go to Lucy and say she'd produce the show if Lucy agreed to reopen the club. She'd promise an amazing presentation, something guaranteed to satisfy the VIPs and get the money rolling back, and she'd paint the canvas of Lucy's mind with strokes of Funky John's genius. And while it would look like Ruby was producing, Funky John would be her Cyrano de Bergerac, whispering brilliance from the wings, directing from the shadows, pulling strings where nobody could see him. Now Lucy and I are friends. She inherited my services when her grandmother willed her the club. I would never dream of keeping a serious secret from her. But I figured this one was harmless. And truth be told, I knew more than Funky John thought I did. He didn't tell me everything. But I'm Lady. I see things, I hear things. Still, I thought the plan was harmless enough. A little misdirection, a little backstage magic. And eventually Funky John would have to tell Lucy it was him all along if he wanted even a chance at getting what he really wanted. Her heart. Well, and probably back in her apartment. It wasn't until they told me to call the detective that I realized what was really going on. It had been a long, steamy summer in Hotlanta, and I was 2 years into the change, enjoying the Coffy Town cool down and praying Club Surrender would reopen before my savings dipped too low. Ruby was lucky I happened to be there that day, restocking my supply cabinet and finishing alterations on one of her signature custom pearl gowns. Betty had daggers in her eyes. I talked her down. I knew something was wrong before I reached the hallway. There's a certain pitch a woman hits when she's been holding too much for too long, sharp around the edges, trembling in the middle. I felt her pain before I heard her cry. We bonded over her tears once, the night she found out she was pregnant by Detective Jimmy, and her whole world shifted. The night she became someone different than the man had come to expect. This time, she came ready to fight Ruby. I was too close to it. I admit that I felt partly responsible. The way I took her by the shoulders, pulled her to her feet and told her how to require marriage and a father for her child when she collapsed in stall number 3, a positive test in one hand and her last pair of dancing shoes in the other. Jimmy still hasn't forgiven me. He wasn't done playing the field. A man ought to have some say in who he marries. He snapped, clipping my explanation with his baritone. No nonsense, copper, pretense. Perhaps he was correct, in theory. Listen. Life is what life does best. Who can ever know when anyone is ready for a family? Betty had to put the newborn in his hands before he finally gave up his love affair with Ruby. But even then, he moved like a man with regret. Melting down at her old dressing table in Club Surrender's dressing room, she painted a picture of a man none of us recognized. She said he was a shell of the man he used to be. His light was dull, like somebody turned the dimmer all the way down from a VIP player to beat cop robot. Signing up for extra shifts to keep from coming home, the showgirl turned housewife was so confused. She said she felt guilty for trapping him, but if she were smart, she'd let Ruby have him. Ruby didn't want him. Ruby was the first to hug her, to squeeze that idea right out of her. I could feel it on Betty before I saw her. That storm energy, that righteous fury, that heartbreak dressed up as courage, her shoulders squared, her jaw locked, her hands balled up like she was ready to swing at the first flinch. But that's not what she walked into. She was folded into the warm, messy, holy embrace of a sister circle. Ruby on one side, Scarlet Falls on the other. Even unpimpable Missy softened for the friendship offering. Sarah had only stopped by to catch her husband Pete Prayer moonlighting on her gospel house records in our little den of unsung sirens, but she ended up praying over everyone Pete Prayer had run off with a lot of moxie again. But that would come to an end soon enough. At that point, Betty couldn't have thrown a punch if she tried. Hate and fear meet their demise where two or three gather for love and honor. I stood in the doorway, watching them breathe together, cry together, settle together. It struck me how quickly a fight can turn into a healing if the right women are in the room. How grief recognizes grief, how forgiveness sometimes shows up wearing somebody else's perfume. Betty came to confront Ruby and found a circle of sisters holding no hate and no judgment.
Chapter 3, Lucy, Running on Empty. Lucy's phone lit up in the quiet of the club. Her father, Lou Surrender, flashed across the screen, stern and repolished with Northside pride.
Baby girl, it's your daddy. Now listen. I didn't stand on my feet opening doors through 1,000 Chicago winters to put you through school so you could fail. Don't get it twisted, I ain't calling you a failure. You took that place and made it shine better than my mama ever did. But that land you're sitting on, that's a goal of mine now. And if you're calling me for money, that means you ain't making none. And you know what I taught you since you was knee-high to a duck. If it don't make dollars, it don't make sense.
Lucy didn't move, didn't blink, didn't breathe. The message ended, but the weight of it stayed, hanging in the air like smoke. Her shoulders were heavy, eyes dim, sitting at that desk with a pile of bills Funky John had left behind before she kicked him, and his dreams and backdoor schemes to the curb. From the blood-red walls, her grandmother Gladys watched from a golden frame, wearing that all-knowing stare Lucy could never outrun. Her father's voice still rang in her ears, her finances were bleeding, her faith in Club Surrender was hanging by a thread. She didn't cry, she didn't scream, she just sat there, running on empty.
Chapter 4, Planting Seed.
It was quiet in Lady's room, not silent, but still. The kind of stillness that comes when women are thinking too hard and trying not to say too much. Lucy had finally shown her face. She looked tired, not just in the body, in the soul. Her father's voice still ringing in her ears, her finances still bleeding, her faith in Club Surrender hanging by a thread. Ruby was calm, too calm.
The kind of calm that comes when a woman has already made peace with something she hasn't told you yet. She looked at Lucy, then at me. She didn't ask for permission. She didn't ask for privacy. She just said it. It's over between Jimmy and me, but there is no one else you should call if something ever happens to me. She said it like it was nothing, like she was just tying off a loose end. But I felt it in my chest, in my bones, in the mirror behind her. It was a seed, a prophecy, a warning dressed up as a casual remark. Lucy didn't flinch. She just nodded, like she was too tired to argue and standing there watching the two of them. I couldn't shake the feeling that we had all better pray Lucy was paying attention on reopening night, because if she wasn't, all this plotting and planning was about to cost us more than we could afford.
Chapter 5, Players and Pearls, Show Night.
By the time show night rolled around, I had quietly decided I was in charge of Club Surrender. Lucy was making me nervous, spending more and more time up north with her mother and father, building herself a little safety net so the club wouldn't fall apart again before it even got restarted. Somebody had to keep an eye on the performers, make sure they didn't leave their little storms and messes all over the place during rehearsals, so I took the reins. I had brought the whodunit idea back with me from Atlanta, but Funky John, Lord, he took it and ran. He wrapped it in that classic radio theater feel, complete with a narrator that made the whole thing sound like we were broadcasting from the top of Nostalgia Mountain. When he handed me the set list with all his notes, his hand was shaking like a leaf. I didn't know all the details, but Funky promised surprises. The stage was set on fragile hope. Everything was one missed mark from falling apart. Standing there in ladies' room, watching performers stretch, argue, and pray, I could feel it. The whole night humming like a live wire. Funky John's seed had been planted in the soil of Lucy's trust and Ruby. Funky John was betting the house. Sarah was ready to break. She'd come to the club 7 times in the last 2 weeks, fussing at her husband, Pete Prayer, about losing his soul and secular sound like a sinner. She wanted him to take over for her on her Coffee House roadshow. Pete Prayer was ready to rise, even if it would take a miracle for him to find his real eyes and see clearly. Lotta Moxie was trying to rewrite the plot of Pete Prayer's life story. Unpimpable Missy liked to pretend she was unbothered, but I could tell she was excited. I was tough like that when I was her age. The Mark was primed to take the bait. And Jackie was the first guest to take her VIP seat, but I didn't even know who she was. When the house lights dimmed, the whole club shifted. The performers slipped into character. In the show, the one we had stitched together with sweat, secrets, and last-minute miracles, finally took its first breath. Prepared for my patrons, I sat back at my station, turned my phone volume low, tuned in to Coffy Town radio theater, and slid into the Coffee Talk chat.
C-Town. What it do? Players and pearls, if you are new, welcome to Coffy Town, the place you come when you've had enough of that so-called reality, where you can jump in with us as we co-create new love stories in Black Noir, mystery theater that'll snatch your wig, peel your cap with intrigue, and smooth your edges with the kind of satisfaction that brought the cat back. Punany Poet in the chat, Coffee Talk group, yeah, that's where I'm at, yeah, that's where you can find me. Storyteller, dream shaper, cap check specialist, I'm all about that. Punany Poet in the chat. You are tuned into Coffee Talk Radio, baby. Streaming live from Club Surrender, where the lights stay low and the secrets stay loud. This is your man on the mic, sliding through the static like butter on a hot biscuit. And tonight, Tonight I'm smiling at you, cause I know something you don't. We got MC Scholar calling the play-by-play this Valentine's Day, and a couple of my people sprinkle through the crowd. Yeah, they already dropping video on Coffee TV for all your lovers at home, balling on a budget or watching on your phone from some other sucker show. But if you really wanna see what's shaking in Coffee Town, where every secret got its own soundtrack, you might wanna slide on down to the south side and catch the vibe in person. Don't say I didn't warn you. It's an immersive experience that could transform you. Like Unpimpable Missy says, you gotta look it. You knew the job was dangerous when you took it. Meet me, Booker T. Pope, in the coffee talk chat to make your guesses. Drop love confessions or send in your song dedication. Say hello to my special guest, the crown jewel of Coffee Town. Make a suggestion, ask your questions, find out what's really going on at coffeetown.com. Booker T. Poet in the chat, Coffee Talk group. Yeah, yeah, that's where I'm at. Yeah, yeah, that's where you can find me. Storyteller, dream shaper, copy check specialist. I'm all about that. Booker T. Poet in the chat. And if you're truly in the mood for love, the kind that leaves a mark, the Coffee Box Music Writing team will craft you a custom love song that'll bind you tighter, dig you deeper into your keeper. Booker T. Poet in the chat, Coffee Talk group. Yeah, yeah, that's where I'm at. Yeah, yeah, that's where you can find me. Storyteller, dream shaper, cap check specialist. I'm all about that. Booker T. Poet in the chat.
Slide back in for more Noir on the next episode of Storytime with Lady on Coffee Town Radio Theater, where the truth cannot hide inside our little black box at Club Surrender, where love is a mystery we are all trying to solve. Until next time, this is Maximilian, reminding you to pick up the clues at coffeetown.com.